What's going on, YouTube? Thank you for clicking on the video. Today we're going to talk about this Remington 1100 Classic Trap. Let's just look at it real quick. It's pretty. It's got that diamond checkering on the bottom, which is really cool. It's got the little, let me see if I can get it on camera here. On this side, so on the non-ejector side, you got Remington 1100 serial number. On the ejection side, you got Classic Trap right here, the designation in the 1100 family. What makes this different than all the other Remington 1100s is that it's a trap model, and what makes it a trap model is this extended buttstock right here. And what that does is when you have the gun in your shoulder, just pretend you're looking down the bead right here, down the sight. What it does is cant the gun like this. And the reason why it does that is because when you shoot trap, all the clays are going out and away from you. There are different types of shotguns that Remington makes. Auto-loading shotguns, they make pump action shotguns, and they make tactical shotguns, which could be either or. Those are the categories. So for auto-loading shotguns, which this is a semi-automatic, there's a couple different families. They make Versamax V3 Field Sport, they make Model 1100, which is that, and they make Model 1187, which is basically this, but just not as fancy. Right now, 2020, they have 4 different models. The different models are Sporting Series, Competition Series, Classic Trap, which is that one, and American Classic. So what that is just different things that people use these guns for. Like I said, again, this one's made with trap in mind, so it's super heavy. The reason for that is you can go out to the trap field and shoot all day and it's not going to beat you up. But if you were going to lug this around looking for quail or whatever, flushing birds out, it probably would suck because, you know, it's heavy in compared to the over and under guns and some of the other auto loaders that are out there that are made for bird hunting. The synthetic, you know, kind, this is definitely way heavier. So this is probably, I would say, the rarest 1100. That doesn't, I'm not trying to say that that's a good or a bad thing. It's just you don't run across these because people that buy these buy them specifically for trap, and there's, I mean, few and far between. There's a lot of people that hunt. There's not a lot of people that I've came across that shoot trap and only shoot trap. There's a lot of people that shoot trap, but they also shoot sporting clays, and they shoot skeet, and they shoot 5-stand. So maybe they want a gun that'll do all of that instead of just one that's designed for trap. So something to think about there. Now that I gave you my little 2 cents and have shown the gun a little bit, we can take it apart. I'll show you how to take it apart, put it back together, and I guess we'll just do that. So first things first, you know, you always got to make sure they're unloaded. So we're good there, I believe. You got to physically and visually inspect. So boom, boom, no shell, right? If you're ADD like me, you do it 3 times because that's the good amount to do it. So first things first, make sure it's clear. Second thing, you take apart this, I don't even know what this is called, retaining nut. I don't know, it's a thing. Take that off. Take your hand guard off. Pull your charging handle back. It's got to be back like this, and we take the barrel off. So all you got to do is grab your barrel, give it a little pull. So it's gonna come out easy if it's clean. If it's not clean, it's not gonna come out easy. So make sure you take care of your stuff. Now that the barrel's off, we can let the bolt forward. You gotta take off this little gas ring and your, whatever this is called, I don't know, it's a thing. So take your thing off with your, so there we go, we're right there, right? Now, next thing to do, you can, throughout this process, you can take the trigger out. I usually leave the trigger in there for last just because that's the way that I feel like doing it, but it's up to you. Next thing that you can do, or the next thing that I do, you can take the trigger out at this point, but I keep going. You just grab your charging handle and pull straight out. So it's not held in by anything, but to take your bolt out, you have to take your charging handle out. So you just grab it and kind of pull. On your charging handle side of the lower receiver, there's a little retaining thing. It's like a little piece of metal that's going like this. You gotta push it in and simultaneously pull your bolt up. And then you can take your bolt and your bolt carrier out. and your bolt just sits on there like that. So you just bloop. So now there is two things left in here. You have your trigger assembly, and then you have, I don't know what this thing's called. What it does is it fits up against the back of your bolt right here, and when your bolt cycles, this pushes back into your stock, and then it pushes it back forward again. So I don't know if somebody can put it in the comments what it is. I don't know what it's called. So what I do next is I take my punch set. This is what's kind of annoying about these guns, is there's a lot of guns that you don't need a punch set for, but this is definitely one of them. And maybe you can get the bolts on it loose enough to where you don't have to ever mess with it or whatever, but I always have. So you get you a little rag or something, and you put it up underneath your trigger to give these two little bolts room to go through. This is a 5/32 punch. I really like this range max. What you do is just, whenever you're doing this, if it gets stuck, be sure that you guide it down in there, and that you're not hitting it and then it pops off and then you start hitting into your like lower receiver, because you'll put a dent in it or you'll scuff it up and it doesn't look the best. So the other thing I like about these punches is they got like a little nipple right there, and these things have these bolts, or these like push through pins, they have a little dimple in there for that to go on. So it's really nice. So you get it mostly there, and then you just pull them out, right? So now, oh, I should have said this before, but you make sure that every time that I do this, at least, I always make sure that my safety is on, so that way you don't accidentally pull the trigger and then you dry fire it, or you mess something up. So there you go, there's your trigger assembly. And then the last thing is this. This is the most painful thing to do, and I've learned how to do it better, but this has given me so much trouble putting this back in. So that's that. I mean, that's the full disassembly. And usually I take like a toothbrush or something, and I'll go in here and I'll just make sure everything's wiped down and everything's clean. And I usually leave these kind of like wet. And you can see there with the bluing, this was all black at one point, but I shot this thing in so many competitions, and I've shot this for skeet, I've shot this for trap, I've shot this for sporting clays, I've shot this for 5-stand. This thing has been good to me. I guess while we're apart and while we're putting back together, it's just the opposite. So I feel like you do everything in reverse, right? So I'm just going to talk more or less about the gun and my experience with the gun than actually what I'm doing, because I can't do both. I can't multitask. Thank you for making it this far in the video. What really caused me to make this video is I was thinking about selling this gun and taking it apart and cleaning it, and then today going over it and making this video. I've kind of realized that I'm a little attached to it more than I thought I was, so I might not sell it now. But leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the video. Thanks for watching it. We'll go over the pros and cons next. This is probably the next thing you should put in, because if you put everything back together, you can't get to that if it comes out of that hole. So I usually put my bolt back in as the next thing after this guy, because it'll mess up on you. Pros and cons of this thing. I know I keep talking about how heavy it is. That is a pro if you are shooting trap, because you swing the gun less, you're not whipping it around as much. The weight absorbs the recoil. You can shoot more rounds for longer. So it is a pro being heavy. The cons is that if you're walking around with it in the woods, or if you're carrying it for long ways, that kind of stinks at being that heavy. Let's see here. So weight, it looks good. A pro is that it's a pretty gun. The downside to that is with the pretty gun comes a price tag. So the 1100 family starts around $1,200 and they top off around $1,600. The top of the line is like the American Classic, and that's like the fanciest of the fancy. It has a regular buttstock on it, and it's all around shotgun type of deal. So something to think about. Definitely not expensive when you compare them to like Berettas or some of the other fancier companies that are traditional shotgun, over and under, like, you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so another thing, these things they're princesses. Whenever they get dirty, they don't work. So I I don't know, I probably could get a couple hundred, I'd say more than, maybe around 500 rounds through this thing before it started having problems, and then you got to clean it. So that's not a lot of shells. It might sound like a lot to you, but if you go out and shoot sporting clays, the sporting clay course usually 100 rounds, and then you go shoot like 4 games of skeet, like you're already half life right there. So like if you compare that to an over and under, or like maybe a pump where you can put 10,000 rounds through it, talking about pump, without a problem, this is definitely not going to last as long. So they are princesses. You have to keep them clean, and you have to clean them after every time you shoot them. It does keep the quality nice, and it keeps them looking good, but it's just something to think about. So the last thing that I would say is a con is they are a pain in the butt to take apart. So like I do it pretty easily on the video, but the first couple times I took this thing apart, it was not that easy. And I'm sure the first couple times that you take yours apart is not going to be that easy. Yeah, it's a learning process. So it kind of sucks that there's so many parts and there's so many things that can go wrong on them, I guess. So that's more or less it. I couldn't really think of anything else. They're pretty guns. They're nice. I would say they're mid-level. And hopefully this video helped you some sort of way. So I appreciate you watching. Thank you for being around. I'll see you in the next one. I'm going to try to do a review of a over and under that I have. It's a TriStar Sporting Classic, but appreciate you. Thanks for the views. Thanks for the time. See you in the next one. Bye.